Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Afif Fidaus bin Shamsul Azman, section 01P, and my matric number MA17074. Today I want to present about the induction welding. Introduction for induction welding is a type of welding which heat the workpiece using electromagnetic induction. The induction welding process can be a very quick process. The basic of induction classification explains that the direction of current flow affects the direction of flow of the magnetic field, and the direction of the field will change at the same rate as the frequency of the current. For the application for induction welding is solder rush or irregularly shaped component, manufacture of glass field, electronic industry, automobile industry. Figure 1.1 show the example of product of induction weld. Figure 1.13 using induction welding to join a polypropylene tea kettle. Figure 1.1.4 show that the induction welding is used to solder a polypropylene lawn mower shroud or gas tank. For the mechanism and metallurgy, mechanism of induction welding is eddy current heating and heating due to hysteresis. Losses are the two most widely observed mechanisms by which heat can be generated by an induction field. A copper induction coil, which is attached to a high-frequency power supply, is positioned in close proximity to the joint in the eddy current heating phases. In the figure 1.1.1 show the setup for induction welding. In the implant, electric current are triggered and the surrounding thermoplastic section soften and melt as they are strong enough to heat the conducting material. This tends to weigh the molten thermoplastic as a friction is applied to joint and a weight form as the joint cool. Due to this lack of hysteresis, ferromagnetic material such as stainless steel and iron often heat up under a complete magnetic field. The ferromagnetic material is magnetized and the magnetic strength increases at the magnetic field. If the magnetic field decreases, magnetic pressure decreases. There is, however, a lag between the two, resulting in hysteresis loop that show in a graph a graphic magnetic field in a ferromagnetic material and magnetic intensity for electric magnetic field. For the metallurgy. For metallurgy in induction welding is integrate when so many reactions occur during welding. The metallurgical properties of the weld area depend on the weight and base metal composition. The fusion zone microstructure is very dynamic and is extremely subtle to the different welding parameters such as amperage use, the weight start lift off period. The welding parameter correlate to pace shift and solidification behavior as well. Thus, in the fusion zone, different kinds of stable and metastable phases of ferrite and austenite are evident. Higher heat intake, for example, can initiate the forming of ferrite to be denser in a welded metal and increase the decision structure size. The welding parameter can be regulated to regulate the properties of the microstructure, which significantly affect the mechanical properties of the welded component. For the equipment, for induction welding, the first one is induction generator, work coil, heat exchanger, press and fixture or nets. The function of induction generator is to the purpose of induction generator is induction making, depending on its application, is to convert the supply to radio frequency and the power between 1 and 5 kW. The working coil impedance must be aligned with the generator output impedance for consistent function and efficient. For function of the work coil is to supply the magnetic field around the joint. It should be consistent with the induction generator power output and configured to decrease async or overloading patterns at high frequency. In achieving high strength, weight and process performance, work coil design and position are critical. And for the heat exchanger, in the welding, strong electrical current are traveled through the working coil. The coil circulate water and is cooled by a heating exchanger, frequently coupled in a single unit with the generator to avoid overheating. For the press is usually a ram attached to a pneumatic or occasionally hydraulic cylinder as a mechanism for applying pressure during welding. And the last one is a fixture or nets. During the welding process, fixture or positioning nets tie that piece together on nets is usually set while the other is movable. Using electricity non-conductive material such as phenolic or epoxy, nets are buoyed as the presence of a metal conductor near the work coil will reduce the magnetic field force. For the metal or material compatible, almost all thermoplastic crystal and amorphous and can perform high performance welding, and hard to weld resins can be welded using induction welding. Weld different material or thermoplastic containing glass, bulk mineral, wood or other filler, and thermoplastic material. For the advantages and limitations for induction welding, the advantages, the first is efficiency. Induction welding is a highly efficient welding process. Even though induction welding requires electricity, induction welding often requires less energy than other processes of high frequency of welding, and making it an appealing option for application of large-scale welding. Induction welding is a very efficient welding process because it generally uses up less electricity than other welding process. The second one is focus heat. In addition to efficiency, induction welding is capable of producing focus heat. In other words, induction welding device will generate heat, and the heat generated will be localized to a single and specific area and protecting the workpiece from damage. The third one is induction welding can support a variety of material, from iron and steel to plastic and composite. Induction welding support a wide variety of material. This modern welding process used to weld both ferrous and non-ferrous together. If material is non-magnetic, such as plastic, is typically implanted with ferrous compound, thereby allowing the material to absorb the electromagnetic energy produced by the induction welding apparatus. It can be welded using an induction welding apparatus as long as the material contains ferrous compound. And next, induction welding can remove impurities. Welding by induction will eliminate impurities from the workpiece. During this high-frequency welding process, the workpiece heats up when exposed to the induction welding apparatus. Induction welding also, the advantages for induction welding is automation. While induction welding cannot be completely automated, many steps in the induction welding process can be performed automatically to streamline a manufacturing company operation. Lock machining, for instance, can be automated to achieve an appropriate amount of power to heat and weld the workpiece. For the welding procedure and testing, the first step is placement of the implant. Implants are available in a variety of ways, such as sheet, extrude profile, injection mold, part, tape, and strength, depending on the size and shape of the part to be welded. And on a position of the work coil, they can be placed by hand or using an automatic device and the connection line. Step 2 is application of pressure. Pressure can be added to the component by placing them in a features connected to a pneumatic cylinder, or the work coil can be mounted in a pressure applied PTFE or ceramic block. Step 3 is induction heating. Control is applied to the operation coil, producing the electric field that heat the implant, which in turn heat and thermal conduction made the surrounding thermoplastic. And step number 4 is part cooling and removal. The power is turned off after a preset period and the pieces are allowed to cool for a preset time under heat. It then removes the welded assembly and repeat the loop. For the welding testing, induction welding uses a tensile strength. And second, induction welding also use ring hoop testing to determine the hoop flow stress property of tubular specimen. The ring hoop strength test use a ring hoop tensile test apparatus. They implemented the 3D digital image correction method DIC to measure and confirm the pressure condition in the specimen length measurement. For the safety precaution, for the potential health and safety hazard, for the first one is electrical hazard. To make sure the plug and wire are in good condition for all electrical appliances and machine. The second is fire. Keep you to protect yourself when your work area clean of flammable material that as a result of spark can cause fire. And the second is pinch point. To protect yourself when repairing or performing other function with to never place your hand or feet close to the pinch point or the affected gear. And the last one is high sound level. To protect yourself, to protect your hearing, from hearing protection is required in design net area while working. For the parameters, for the personal protective equipment, the first you need to have a HEP filter respirators, and you need to have a shoes that you need to protect to avoid a risk of a serious foot injury due to material falling to the feet. And the third is you need to have a work glove should be worn while performing tasks when there is a risk of an injury. And the last one, you need to have a hard hats must be worn when working in an environment where there is a danger of object falling from above or where there is high risk of hitting object with your head. For the parameter of welding parameter in induction that have a strength, welding time, speed of welding, and cooling time. For the quality and management system, the relevant code that used for induction welding is the first one is American Welding Society AWS standard. The second is American Petroleum Institute API standard. And the third one is International Organization for Standardization ICO standard. For the inspection, defect and failure analysis. Inspection defect that used in induction welding, the first one is visual inspection. The second one is dye penetrant inspection. And the third one is magnetic particle inspection. Failure analysis that usually occur in induction welding is induction coil. Induction coil failure is a rather difficult problem since there is normally no sole trigger responsible for the failure, but rather a variety of causes that are interrelated. A coil failure analysis must at least have experience of electromagnetic, metallurgy, science of material, mechanics, heat transfers, and chemistry. For the conclusion. In conclusion, as anyone can learn the straightforward process and the short welding time of the induction welding process qualify it as an expensive choice that can be used for many main joining applications. Induction welding should also be expected to be used more commonly in the coming years than now, since this method of welding is more practical and less expensive relative to other types of welding. In addition, several research have done a lot of research related to induction welding in order to further improve the process for improved efficiency and consistency of welding. I think that's all for me. Thank you. For the Q&A session, why prefer your welding compare the other welding? Because induction welding is efficiency. Induction welding often require less energy than other process of high frequency welding. For the question number 2, are there any limitation? For the induction welding that have a limitation, expenses of the implant, which may be significant, the cost of improving the configuration of the working coil, and the operation of additional is installation of the position of the implant joint. For the question number 3, why some material cannot be welded with your technique? Material that cannot be used as a fusion welding process for steel because the temperature which can reach it not enough to melt the steel. For the question number 4, how inspection is carried out and why weld may fail? The first inspection is visual inspection, dye penetrant inspection, and last one is magnetic particle inspection. And why weight may fail? That's because induction coil. Induction coil is a rather difficult problem since there is normally no sole trigger responsible for the failure.